Hi, it's me again, back with another episode. I am so excited because this is the final episode of the season, and we're here. After how many episodes, we are finally here. I am so excited. The year went by so quickly, and I am so excited that I am finally here to kind of give you a little bit of a backstory of how and why I started Beyond the Cubicle. I'm sure you've I don't know, maybe you have or you did not, but this is me telling the story of why I started in the first place. So I've been working in corporate for some time, but I've always felt this disconnect between me as a creative and what I do on the daily. And last year I had this epiphany, or I don't know, this vision, or I saw myself in a place where I was able to pursue my dreams whilst being able to do the 9 to 5 job. And I'm sure there are not many people here that they have their 9 to 5 jobs and they're still able to pursue their creative passions. And I wanted to create a platform for many people like myself who have their 9 to 5 jobs, but they're still out there trying to bring something to the table. They're trying to showcase themselves either creatively or business wise. And that is how Beyond the Cubicle came to be. That's why I'm here. And throughout this journey, I've been able to speak to so many creative people. Oh my God, and I've also learned much about myself and about people's potential, especially in this Nigeria. If I tell you how many creative talents we have in this Nigeria, you will not believe it. Some people, they even have the idea, but maybe they're scared or they need some sort of push or motivation, and that is why we created this platform, so that when you hear an episode, you can be able to see yourself in the person that we interview and then create something beautiful for yourself. This episode is one of my favorite episodes. I know I say this a lot, but actually this is. And this is a sound engineer who has been able to create a path for himself and be part of one of the best Nollywood projects in 2024. I can't wait for you to hear his story and sort of understand his background, maybe get some inspiration for yourself, learn something new, and just be inspired. That's the whole essence of this, to be inspired. So I would let you enjoy the episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi guys, it's Olaoluwa and welcome to Beyond the Cubicle. On today's show, we have a very special guest. This is a sound god in the industry. He is a producer, music, everything music. He's just one of a kind, and he's been part of some of my favorite projects in 2023 and 2024. Please welcome to the show, Daniel Olaoluwa. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you said something about education.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people are not necessarily, they didn't go to the school for that formal education
in
Nollywood. So how does one start?
Well, so is how a lot of people have started, because we're Nigerians at the end of the day. We always find a way. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right way, but we find a way. And because we always find a way, it becomes our way. And that's the thing about this industry. Basically, I feel like every Nollywood production is a miracle.
Okay.
In the sense of the word, because you're looking at, let's take a Hollywood production that's $50 million, $100 million. And I think it's just last year in Nollywood that we were celebrating our first $1 million budget film. I think that was Black Book.
Yeah.
So basically that's 1% of a $100 million budget. Yeah. And we would create a film on 1%.
A badass film.
It could be, we won't be able to compare it, obviously, with Hollywood, but we would create something watchable.
Yeah.
And we would do that in less than 1/5 of the time. Hollywood productions is months. In Nigeria, I was shooting like 3 weeks, 1 month, bam, 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 no time, shooting 5-6 scenes in one day, making it work. And obviously, there's going to be that lapse in quality that's going to show. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a story that was told. So in a way, I mean, like, it's not easy. And it takes someone being in that industry to know, because it's very easy. I mean, like, it's the easiest thing to be an audience member and to criticize, you know, to watch, you know, Nigerians, we have this thing. Once we are watching a Nollywood production, we're looking for everything. Like, that she's wearing a different wig in the scene before. You know, we just have that thing. But once we're watching Hollywood, we are open to taking whatever they give us. So this guy's going to fly from like 3-story buildings. Like, mad. We're not going to just say, we're going to say, that's crazy.
Why is that though?
So it's the magic of film. So what film is it's make believe. It's storytelling, but in a way, you know, when it's done very well, it takes you out of your world and into that world. You automatically start to believe everything you see. You watch like a Game of Thrones and you see dragons and you believe that
they're real. Yeah.
Because the film has successfully taken you from your world, has colonized your brain and has put you inside there that look at this thing, care about these characters, care about their motive, be scared for them when something bad is about to happen. You know, it pulls you in. And, you know, it's a lot of elements coming together to create that total pull. Because, you know, it has to be perfect. If something is off in a film, that's what pulls you out. And that's what makes you come out of the experience and say, this is off. So that's what usually is bad. So if with Nollywood, if it doesn't totally get to pull you in, because usually we have those lapses. Because again, it's almost impossible to make a film at that rate, at that speed, with those resources and not make some mistakes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when those things happen, it pulls the audience out. Saying, how did this guy get from there to there? This doesn't make sense. Then you're no longer in the experience. You're no longer in the make-believe.
Yeah.
But if it is complete, then you're in it from beginning to end. You find yourself crying. You find yourself laughing. You find yourself in love. You find yourself feeling for. So it's the magic of film.
Yeah.
And, you know, over time, people have understood the power of film. It's very powerful. Very, very powerful in the sense that it successfully now even takes you, like, it has dragged you in, but now when you are out, you still carry that belief, that reality into your own real world. And you find yourself maybe emulating some things, maybe admiring some things from a character that is not real, you know, believing a story or a location and stuff like that. And over the years, look at how it has shaped people's minds. A lot of people have never been to the US, but they have an idea of what they feel the US is or how Americans are because of films. You know, a lot of people have never met a Russian, but because of how Americans have portrayed Russia over the years, which was intentional, you're like, if someone you say is Russian, you're just scared, or you just have a apprehension like Russian, or, you know, or an Arab person, or all of that, or see the way South Koreans make their country look. Because, you know, you're just living through the images you're seeing. And, you know, it's export. That's one thing I say. I feel like that's also something we need to understand in Nigeria, that we are exporting our image whenever we put out a film. You know, so before, we used to solely focus on our stories. You know, old Nollywood, it was comedy. You had your Aki and Popo, you had all that, or you had your Kotoaye, scary stuff. But like nowadays, where, you know, cameras are clearer, image quality is, you know, is sharper. Everybody's seeing everything, and people are paying more attention to the look now, not just to the story. So it has to match. So you're thinking, okay, how am I making Nigeria look if I do this film? This is my story, but what's the perception that I'm giving of this particular area or of Nigerians as a whole? So those are the things that I feel like film does. So when it comes to the education part, it's people knowing for sure the techniques behind that make believe. Because again, like 80 to 90% of the people working on Nigerian film sets learn on the job. They've learned on the job. They didn't maybe go to school to learn it professionally. And, even the film schools that we have here are good, but not on the standard that we are seeing the whole world moving now. Because, they're moving exponentially. America, all of that, the things they're trying in their films. South Korea, it's crazy. But we are moving like this.
But we're getting there.
Where is the dare? I think those guys are pushing the dare.
Yeah.
And also, but so, that education is key, not just even technically, even like actors, all of that. And, it shows in the image quality. It shows when you're watching a Nigerian film, you're watching a Nigerian film. When you're watching a Hollywood film, you're watching a Hollywood film. And for someone who has worked on sets with foreigners that have come, it's not even solely a equipment or budget problem. Education is key. The know-how of things is a big deal, because the people that have made these equipments have made them to be used in a particular way.
Yeah.
Put things there. Oh, this is what you do if you want to get this thing exactly. And they go to school to learn it. And then, us we're just trying to make it work. Okay, this thing's just like this. So education, I think, for me, is the number one obstacle for us to really start getting to. And I feel it just has to start with some people. You go there, you learn, you come back, you teach more people. And then that's how, it spreads.
Transfer of knowledge.
Yeah.
And you're part of them, actually. You started.
Wow.
That's why you're here. You mentioned storytelling several times.
Yeah.
And as a sound engineer, music producer, I think music has a way of bringing stories to life. I remember preparing for this interview, right? And I tried to take out the sound out of some of my favorite movies or songs or anything at all. And it wasn't as dope as it was that I imagined it to be, because there was no sound, there was no music to accompany, to make that story come to life.
Yeah.
So as a professional in your field, how do you try to use sound to make stories come to life?
Okay, that's a great question. So, sound. I think it was George Lucas, the Star Wars guy, he said, sound is half the film. And, the sound coming out of your speakers is as important as the image that you're seeing on your screen. And, you try the experiment of watching something without the sound, it just feels incomplete. Sound. So let me break it down. And you mentioned music, you mentioned sound and all that, and there's some nuances that people don't really understand when it comes to. So when it comes to film sound, there is, let me break it down into 4 major categories. Your number one thing is your dialogue, which is that's the principal sound that is recorded on sets. In fact, all the mics and this thing that you hear, people that you see them carrying on sets, is to record the dialogue, because that's what drives the story forward. That's what passes the message.
That's the foundation.
That's how you know what the communication that's going on and all of that. And massive effort goes into recording dialogue properly on set. But dialogue is not the only sound that exists. There's sound associated with everything. If I say car, there's a sound that comes to mind. I'm sitting on this chair. That's a sound. It's a small creak. There's, you push of a button. It's either a click or a beep. There's sound is associated with everything. Even in silence, something called a room tone. Each room has its sounds, even when there's no noise.
Yeah.
And in film, there's actually you can't have dead silence.
Okay.
In film, even when there's a quiet scene, there's noise. Yeah.
Intentional.
Intentionally. If you have dead silence in the film, there's something called QC, quality control. They'll tell you. There can't be like the way you mute your TV and you don't hear anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in any film. Check it out. So there's always sound. And that sound that is not dialogue is you have your Foley, which is,
what's that?
So Foley is spelled Foley.
Okay.
It's actually named after the person that invented it. I think his name is James Foley or something like that.
Okay.
And that is the art of after, your principal recording, going back to record the other sounds on set that are not dialogue.
Okay.
Because they're also part of the picture.
Okay.
So if you were shooting a scene outside and, our dialogue was being recorded and a car passes and you're watching the film and you don't hear, you're like, so someone has to go and record
Capture.
the sound of a car passing.
Yeah.
And in post-production, put it into that image at that specific point where that car passes. So they complete the soundscape of that particular image or that scene. So that's Foley. It's broken down into a lot of, I think the major part of Foley is footsteps, because every time there's movement, there's footsteps. And that varies from the kind of shoes, the kind of floor, so every time people are moving, there's footsteps. There is clothing, there's anything in the door opening, a part on the back, interacting with the prop. Everything has a sound. So in a scene, when that is, when you watch a scene, the Foley person would watch and go back and recreate all the sounds that are happening that were not dialogue. And then, they clean it up, mix it, and put it back into the scene. So it just completes the soundscape. Even room tone, they will put it back in, everything. Then the third thing is the score, which is basically the heartbeat of the movie. It's the rhythm. It drives it heightens emotions if you want. It foreshadows. If something bad is about to happen, the score just starts making you exactly, tension, love, any emotion, talk about it. And so the score is music that is made specifically for a film. And it's generally most of the time orchestral music. You have a lot of, in fact, the iconic scores that have gone on to be identity for films. I have like if you hear do 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 do, you're like, oh, Titanic, oh, my chest. Exactly, or you have your bam 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 bam. That's your Mission Impossible. So tons of them that are iconic. That just from, in fact, it's one of the ways I always say it's one of the ways of taking a movie with you when you don't have to, you can't watch it every time.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to the score of the movie, you're just back there.
Even Game of Thrones.
Like exactly. That's like, if you hear Game of Thrones,
you're
like, you just know. There's tons of iconic scores.
Yeah.
And so the big composers, Hans Zimmer, Michael Giacchino, John Williams, who's like the godfather of scores. I think he did Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jaws, Home Alone, the big scores and stuff. So that's the third one. And the fourth one will be sound effects.
Okay.
So sound effects is it's like creating sound, realistic sound for unrealistic things.
Okay.
So majorly when you have happenings in a film that are not particularly realistic, like what's the sound of space? Actually, there's no sound in space.
Yeah.
But in film, space sounds somehow. There's a sound that is associated. When people are in space, there's a particular way it sounds.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or like you see Superman is just about to take off. That's not a real life sound. You get it? But the sound has been done in such a way that you believe that when he takes off, that's how it is. It's real. Or do you get? Or like your horror background sounds, some things that just make your skin crawl and hair. So those sound effects are created, that they're not particularly Foley because they're not real. But they are created to complement. So when you put all of this together, that forms the soundscape of a film. And I say film sound. So, but across all of this is 50, 60, depending on the number of people working on different part of it. If you are talking scoring, talking like a whole orchestra. So film sound is very vast.
Yeah.
And in Nigeria, you say, guy, go and do sound. You do sound for the film. They do everything. So, like I said, it's miracles that we're doing. You just have somebody working on that, give you a short amount of time. So, doing all of this is part of what helps to tell the story. And the choices, the creative decisions, because you can also be creative in this way. You use your sound to help tell the story. to help, enhance the narrative, because the actors are doing their own part.
Yeah.
Everybody on a film set is helping to tell a story in one way or the other. Everything, the actors are doing their own performances and all of that. The camera angles, that's the DOP, is helping in his own way too. Just shooting somebody, from a higher angle makes the person look more imposing to that. So if it's a conversation where this person is in control, or you get all the subtle things are helping to tell the story. The grading, the coloring, making a scene grayish, grayscale, it's just a somber tone, or making, the gaffer guy putting red lights there, just help making the audience feel there's danger without them realizing it. So everything in its way is adding to the narrative. So same thing with sound. Like in the score, for example, like you mentioned Game of Thrones, for like the Game of Thrones nerds out there, I am a Game of Thrones nerd. Like Winterfell has a score. If they are there, once you hear that thing, you're like, oh, the Starks, where are they? Or like the Lannisters have a score. You get, or like in Lord of the Rings, the Shire, a location has a music. You get like those kind of things or happening. So all these things are part of, even in sound design. Like I think, like you mentioned some of the videos you saw, like House of God and all that. You can also use the sound effects to create a consistency, to create a uniformity, to create something. Oh, this, anytime I hear this sound, that means this thing is about to happen. Exactly. So you use that even in dialogue, as simple as it sounds, they're just talking. That should be normal. But no, you can use somebody's whispering. You can make it sound bigger. You add an echo, you add a reverb, makes it sound scarier. All those kind of things. So everything is a creative process also. And it's like, okay, I'm helping to tell the story in my own way. I'm helping to keep the audience in that world, in that make-believe world that we are doing, so that boom. And the great thing is, when you do your work well, nobody knows that you've done your work. Nobody is gonna.
Because it feels so real.
Yeah, like your audience is not even gonna react. No, I don't think you've watched the film and you're like, oh wow, great dialogue, sounded very clean. Exactly, or like, wow, this sound design. Nah, if your audience notices,
there's a problem.
That means there's a problem. That means you pull them out of the experience. So you just do your work. It's great, and the people that know you did the work, those who didn't, they enjoyed it. They're like, amazing, great.
You seem so passionate about this.
I am.
Like, has that always been the case for you?
I mean, so I think it starts from, if I start from where I started looking into film, I'll admit that I was like a lot of Nigerian film watchers averagely. I used to be super critical, man. I used to be super critical of Nigerian films. Why is this? I can never go and watch it. I don't think in the cinema. What's that? Waste of my money. Until you make one. And then you're like, is that hard? Until you make one, and then other people are like, that's rubbish. And you're like,
yeah.
But I swear to
I worked.
I like, you don't know what we put into this thing to get
blood, sweat, tears.
This thing that you're just like, is so I've been on maybe 5 film sets. If I'm tired of film sets, I have to stick to my post-production because it's hard going on set, shooting.
But you have to be there, do you?
So it depends on the film and depends on the role that I have. But yeah, most of the time for the film, I'd like to, I think for me majorly, get a hold of the script and properly study it. Then if I can be on set, that's great. To, just see the actors, how they perform, what are the elements around this that I can use to, channel, the sound, how can I enhance this? But like my major work starts when I get the first edit. So I watch that well and I'm like, okay, I see what's the interpretation from the script, the performance to the edit, and I see what's happening and okay, how can I work with this? What can I do? So, but yeah, I think for me, not to digress too much, but for me, when I started working on productions, then I started, you start to see film differently. I've gone back to watch films that I watched 10, 20 years ago, and I'm seeing them in a totally different light. Yeah. Because now I have the awareness, the knowledge of the know-how and what it is. Now I can watch a film and notice a nice camera angle. I can watch a film and notice what the the colorist was trying to do. I can watch a film and see like, oh wow, that's an edit that made sense. Or jigger, I can watch a film and pick the score, like, this is the nice consistency. So for me, like watching a movie right now is like, it's like a class every time. Just like, okay, what can you learn from this? So since I got into film, I've been really passionate about it because it's magical. I feel like it's maybe one of the most advanced form of art, filmmaking, because the number of things that have to go into just telling a story. And a story is what is a character trying to get from point A to point B, and there's an obstacle. That's your story. That's every story. It's somebody, he has a goal, and then there's an obstacle. Your plot is how he's trying to get
navigate.
It could be romance, comedy. The goal may be love, but there's an obstacle. Maybe an ex, maybe this. Every film that you've watched that makes sense follows that structure. But like, how do people make this thing just look like this? How do you pull people, and to see the dedication and the skill that goes into what people do and how they are creative and all that is amazing. You watch some behind the scenes and you're like, oh, more people they agree. So I'm really passionate about it. I am still, and for me, it makes me look forward to, more things, working on more projects, trying to experiment with more stuff, doing things at a higher level and stuff like that. So yeah.
I want to I'm trying to figure out when exactly in your life you realized you had this attraction to sound. Like when you were growing up, maybe when you were in secondary school, maybe when you were like a young guy. Was it like that first like interaction with sound that made you feel like, oh, maybe this could be like a career for me?
So for me, it started with my parents would tell me that when I was a kid, I used to, like a child, I used to take the pots in the house and hit on them. Then I started drumming in church.
You had siblings?
I have just a younger sister.
Okay.
I have a younger sister. And I used to drum. Then I started drumming in church. So for me, it was music first.
Okay.
And so I started off making beats in as a hobby, really. I started off in 2012. So that's what, 14 years now. Damn. Okay. So, and that was when I was about to enter uni. So I just picked it up as a hobby. Guys will know, like just picking up Fruity Loops back then when they were still Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
And then just making beats, random beats, just trying stuff and all of that. And it started from there for me. My aim back then was to be like music producer. I used to make beats. I was nice, which I'm really good at, and I still do. But it's just that over time I've veered more into film. But it started for me with music production. I remember back then I used my school fees to open a studio. I had my school fees, yeah.
Your parents are aware?
Yes. They became aware much later. It was also final year when my dad was coming, like, for convocation and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, actually, like, have a studio. My house is like a studio. So, but yeah, and I had a team back then, like we used to make music and stuff like that. So for me, it started with music. Okay. Music production. And, from when I was a kid, I was always more drawn to the instruments than to the voices. So even if a song is playing, people would sing the lyrics. I would be singing the instruments. So it started with music for me, majorly. Then after hustling, because you go also in this economy, in this Nigeria, go also moved. I had the studio in Lagos, did all that, and then things were tough. Things were tough, man. And I made the decision to, okay, let's get a job. And actually, that was maybe one of the most painful decisions, because at that time I strongly believed that if I entered the 9-to-5 space, that was me saying goodbye to my passion. And I remember when I started working, I would, on my way home, after work, I would be hearing music on the radio, and I'll just sometimes I'll cry myself like, stuff I could do better. My stuff should be here.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've given it up because everybody knew me as Danny Beans. Then there was a competition, like a reality TV show ish, that in a way dragged me back into this stuff. I didn't really want to go for it, but people pushed me. My friends pushed me. I got in it. It was a competition for music producers, vocalists, and songwriters, and they used to team us up, and we'd have the task of creating new music every week. And that's where I met a lot of amazing people that I still work with today. So I met Dottie, so I met Chella, and so that kind of brought me back into the music space. And when I did that, in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to leave. Maybe this thing is really for me. Because at the end of the competition, I think I was second in the producer category.
Really?
Yeah, second. So after that, I re-strategized because I'm like, I can't be doing the same thing the way I used to do it prior to. What thing you go do for this music we go bring you more money now? No be just like, oh, they also to produce for artists and all that. And that's when I veered into music for brands. Because I'm like, okay, the radio jingles you're hearing,
somebody's making
TV,
it.
Yeah, exactly. A producer is producing those are beats.
Yeah.
And those pay way much more.
Really?
Like mad.
Oh my God.
If you make a 1 minute jingle for GT Bank, do you know how much you collect?
I don't know. Tell me.
You collect millions, man. Yes, because it's for brand. They are trying to use it to sell. The deals are different.
Yeah.
So making music for artists too is still good. It's great. But like you're like, okay, which artists, how many artists are going to pay this? Royalties, am I really going to get them? How are they going to push this song? Is it going to work for me? But like you make one kidney for a brand like this, you're making a whole lot more money. So for me, I was like, okay. So I veered into that with a friend, and we really used to push. We did a couple of brand works, and that was nice. And then after that, I think COVID happened. And when COVID happened...
Did you release your album before COVID?
Yeah, so that was a beat tape.
Okay.
And yeah, that was before COVID. That was, in fact, a thing to just put out there to let people know that, okay, yeah, I'm back with this music stuff. So it was just some beats. And then on some of them, I had some of my friends record a verse and stuff like that. So that was just like...
I listened to the whole...
Is it like, really? Nice. Yeah. Thank you. That's old work. But like, yeah, it was, that was what that was for. And basically trying to put myself back out there. Then when COVID happened, everything was on lockdown. And I remember my boss, we had this thing with the Lagos State Ministry of Health where they wanted to put out, information to people like, about COVID, stay at home, all of this. And okay, what can we do? And they told us to do radio dramas. And my boss was like, well, Daniel, okay, come and record. Because for her, you do sound. She doesn't want to know, this sound, not this sound. This is the kind of, nah. And that's one thing I like about her. She push you to doing anything. So I was like, yeah, no, I can do it. Blah, blah, blah. And I got my mics, all that. And I recorded, we did the radio drama. For me, that was the first thing close to what a film sound would be that I did. Because after recording, I had to go back, put music, put sound effects. Because again, it's radio, but you're bringing people into the world. Yeah. So, they're like, okay, this is interesting. This is maybe something I could do. And a friend approached me and he said, oh, yeah, Daniel, so I shot a short film, but there's a problem with the audio. It's just 3 people, but the entire audio is bad for the entire film. That can I do ADR? Now, ADR is automated dialogue replacement. Okay. And what that means is when you go and shoot on set, if there's a problem with the audio, you're going to take the actor back into the studio, the recording studio, and you watch the scene on a screen and you have them reenact
Again.
that, and you just pick the audio and replace it with the original image.
Okay.
And you have to do it flawlessly so that people don't notice, the mouths, maybe exactly. So that's what ADR is. And the initial goal of ADR is to fix bad audio, but it could be for any other thing. A director may want, this person said this, but I want him to say something else. So maybe he said, oh, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Says, oh, but I want him to say, I'm going to see you next tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is, okay, we have 2 cameras here. One is on you, one is on me. At that point, the point where I'm going to say, oh, I'm going to see you next tomorrow, they'll cut to you.
Yeah.
And then they'll just take my own voice off. I'm going to see you next tomorrow. I just slap it on mine. So off camera, I say that's still another form of ADR. It's like, dubbing and stuff like that. So they say, oh, can you do ADR? I was like, yes, I can. Never done it in my life. And that night, I did all of the research in the world. It was like from a Saturday, we had the recording on a Sunday. I learned the new software that night. I watched tons of videos and everything. I was like, okay, great. I call my guy, Alpha, you get TV, you get second screen, we got carry second screen. I said, okay, no problem. And we went to someone's house and I redid the recording for all 3 of the actors. And I went back home, worked on the audio, fixed it, put it back, tiny, just fixing it to people's mouths, stretching, reducing all of that, making it match. And it was great. And the film went to festivals.
Sorry, was it the behind the scenes short movie?
Yes. So if you watch like the teaser or trailer, all that audio you heard was differently recorded. So, so if you do your ADR, there's ADR in every film.
Okay.
Almost every film. But when it's well done, you don't even know.
Notice, yeah.
Yeah, there's ADR. And if you ask yourself some questions, then you have to just be like, oh, yeah. So, for example, you have, I think there's a popular clip online of one of the Wolverine movies where he's running in a forest.
Yeah.
And, he's hitting people as he's running. So, obviously, he's bare-chested and he's running super fast, jumping from tree to tree. There's no mic person that's going to follow him. Oh, he can't be mic'd. But we need to hear those grunts and all of that. So after they shot that, he goes to the studio and then he just records, and then they slap it on that image. So when you see that happening, you're like, oh, okay. But that's ADR. So when I did that ADR for that short film, I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think I started reaching out to people like, yo, so I do sound for film, I do ADR. If you want, if I don't pay me, I'll do it. I'll run it for free, that kind of thing. And, some people took a chance on me and I did some work. And I'm really grateful to them because I used people's work to learn, But in everything I did, I tried to be as, to do it as excellently as possible.
Yeah.
And go above and beyond. I think that's one thing that's helped me retain, other people that I work with, because they're like, okay, yeah, Daniel, he's going to try and give it the best score possible. So I remember I now worked on a documentary. I did the sound design and for a documentary, did the music, all of that. Then my boss, we did a stage play. And we had not done a sound design for something live before. Okay. Even though I had done live sound effects, but we shot the stage play and there was a post-production process for it. So there was a multi-track. So that means you have everybody that is mic'd on stage, all the instruments, the live instruments that are all mic'd, all being recorded. And then the post-production of that is that you go back to the studio and you clean everything up properly. You clean dialogue, you do that. If you have to add stuff, you do. And I remember when the person that we had to do it for this one, the person did that, it wasn't great. And I told my boss, man, don't worry. I'll do it. She was like, how long? I was like, maybe 3 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
Took me 8 months.
Ah.
Took me 8 months.
Wow.
But I did it. In fact, in working on the audio, I realized some scenes were completely missing. There were some full scenes where the mics weren't working.
Yeah.
So we ADR'd for stage. And not just even ADR the actors, I brought back the instrumentalists, replayed the music to fit the dance routines.
Yeah.
So the rhythm had to be right. It was a lot of work, but we made it work. So I kept doing more challenging things. And then I worked on some film projects, okay, at first I worked maybe, okay, just do this part. Someone else is doing this whole, this other part. And then, like that, doing more stuff, a couple of short films, more documentaries. And then I started doing major features or actual working
You
on
can
actual
see it now.
features. So Netflix projects, Prime projects, cinema. Then I think the biggest one I've done so far is House of Ga. That was released on Netflix
Massive.
recently.
Massive.
Thank God. So looking forward to
More.
bigger projects and stuff. And then during this time, still doing brand work, still working with some artists and stuff like that. But it's film that has majorly taken. So I would say that's maybe my trajectory.
Okay. Let's talk about my favorite project of yours. That's the Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti
Interesting. Yeah.
biopic. What was like your first reaction when you got the news that, hey guy, you're going to be part of this project?
Well, so it's because I work in a very interesting space. I work with Daniel Peters. That's the director of this for Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, House of Ga. And she owns Terra Culture, which is like our base of operation. And it's she's a very ambitious woman. And she's an amazing director. She's very dynamic. She doesn't, she's just up and like, you know what, guys, let's do this. So we're always waiting for the next thing that she's going to wake up and say, let's do it. Like, get your back, man. So she says she's going to tell the story of Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, that's Fela's mom.
Yeah.
And we already kind of have some history with Fela because we have a stage play that we did, and Fela and the Kalakuta Queens, which, my boss did because she's like, everybody knows the story of Fela. But the people know the story of the women that stood by him when all of this was happening. And, people see them as this, but what's their true story? She actually went, spoke to people, and she did a stage play around that, a musical around that. So for her to say she wanted to tell the story of Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, it was very interesting because, again, this is a powerful woman, this is a strong woman. And a lot of people prior to this movie, the only thing we knew about her was she was the first woman to drive a car.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the smallest thing. Of what she's done. Like, you realize that she was an activist. She was somebody who changed people's lives, who literally fought oppression. Like, she chased an entire ruler from his palace, took over and stuff like that. Foreign affairs and all this kind of things. She was very, very influential. So when my boss was like, oh, we're going to tell this story, I'm like, interesting. This is really going to be nice. And, we worked on it from the scripting process to the casting to the principal photography and then to the post. It was a very interesting project, a very positive one. I mean, like, it's not every day you get to tell a story like that, to be part of history in that way, or to be part of helping people to learn about history, about somebody like that. So it's a project that I feel privileged to have been part of.
So what's your favorite part of working on that project?
A number of things. Because the film was, centered around like our activism. And we had scenes where we would have protests and chants and stuff like that. And that was one of the parts I like because we did a lot of magic in the film. And there were scenes where we'd have like maybe 30, 40, 50 women. And then in post, we used VFX to blow it up to like 100, 200. But then the sound that we have is the sound of 30, 40 women. So we have to make it match.
Amplify it, yeah.
So, on that project, I did a lot of re-recordings, gathered people, women, market women, took them to the studio.
For real?
Yeah, man. We did the chants, have them, sing again, have them do the chants, record it, put it, work on it, make it, turn it to a crowd, noise, all of that. It was, and then there was a lot of Yoruba dubbing. There were a lot of parts where my boss was like, yeah, I want this part to be Yoruba instead. We had shot it already. So I worked a lot with the actors again, coming back and recording parts. We had reshoots. So it was very, it was an interesting project to work on. And even with the music, those chants, for example, we had to have worked on them before going to set.
Okay.
And, I worked with my brother, Dottie Dideti, to come up with those Yoruba chants and stuff like that, all original. That guy is amazing. And going on set and teaching the women, having them sing. And my Yoruba is not even great, but like you get it. But it was an experience. And then obviously a little cameo.
Yes.
Where I played a journalist who looked like he didn't really know what to do with camera. That was
How
hard.
did that happen?
It was crazy. It was crazy. I was in Lagos and my boss calls me at 4 a.m. So I get on the Abeokuta train now. We're shooting that scene with the protest. So we need you to be here to direct the music. I'm like, yes, ma'am, on my way. I got on the train.
Yeah.
And I was there and, doing the music, blah, blah. And the next thing, the second AD, I think that was Shade, she comes to me, it's like, Daniel, you're going to play journalist too. I first started laughing because I'm like, nah, joking. And that we had done Bling Lagosians, we had done Collision Course, I think we had done Man of God. Everything we've done, I always dodge anything because my boss can just pick and be like, oh, you're in this scene now. I run away. I don't like it, but they caught me that time. So I thought it was a joke at first. Like, no, costume. And they started preparing. I'm like, what's going on? Give me hats and everything. And give me the size. I'm like, what? He said, this is all you have to say. Just this.
Yeah.
I said 3 different lines, the 3 different takes because it's not easy. And I was like, man, that's the editor's problem now. But it was interesting because I never acted. I never even thought, I don't want to really be on camera.
In front of the...
I'm very comfortable being a behind the scenes person. But then that's how that happened. So like, oh, yeah. So yeah, take, give me props, radio. So just this is the question you ask. And that was it. But I'm like, okay, so when I ask the question, what do I do? So lucky enough, I had like another journalist guy that was writing. So I kept looking at him like, okay, I get that. And I was like, it's like, it was funny. And I was dreading the day the movie's going to come out. Because like immediately it came out, like, sending me, that is not you. They sent to my dad. Dad, anyway. Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun to work on.
We've talked about some of your fantastic work.
Yeah.
I want to delve into some of the challenges that you faced. I'm sure you've faced a couple. Do you want to talk about them?
Well, I think if it comes to challenges, like I mentioned earlier, man, education is key. And a lot of us are learning on the job. But we're being held to the same standards regardless. And the challenges I would say that I face are the same challenges that a lot of other people in sound, in Nollywood specifically, face. And that is that a lot of directors don't particularly care as much for sound as they do for picture. Meanwhile, and I won't say that they don't care. Maybe they don't care to understand it the way, because everybody's concerned about visuals. Once it looks good, that's great.
Yeah.
But like sound, there is a lot that goes into sound, into the storytelling sonically for a film. And I can tell you for a fact, like sound budget for a film is on the B side. You can't compare it to what they would budget for picture, for color grading, for you get, because everybody just feels like sound, just do sound. Just do sound and it goes. But here we are so limited in what we can deliver when it comes to sound. I don't know how many Nigerian films have scores that were actually scored by an actual orchestra. We don't have that luxury because that's big budget.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of time to do that. But there's a realism that live music gives you that you can't get from trying to recreate it digitally. You know, and again, like, okay, in creating Foley and stuff like that, in Hollywood, you have Foley studios, big, massive spaces where you have different kind of floor textures, different items, all that, just to be able to recreate the sound that they see here. But here, like, you don't even have that luxury you can't even put in that effort because you don't have that money. And it's, you know, it's challenging also. So, for example, the standard software for film sound design, the industry standard is Pro Tools.
Okay.
Now, Pro Tools is a paid subscription software yearly. If you are using the best version, that's like $600 a year that you have to pay. Now, if you are a Nigerian freelancer, $600, I'll leave you to do the maths in Naira. How many jobs are you going to do that year? And that's just the software. You're not talking about plugins. You're not talking about all that stuff, you know, that you need to get good mics, good equipment, a very powerful system, you know, all those kind of things. It's a lot of money. And, you know, but if you want to work with people abroad now, they'll tell you to send the Pro Tools session or send a hair. If you don't have that software, how are you going to do the work and stuff? So for me, I consider myself lucky because I'm working in a production house that has, you know, that a BAP has put together these resources for us to be able to do the work. But I was like, if I was a freelancer, for example, where do I even begin to get the money to pay for this? To get or to do all those kind of things. So the challenges here really, I think, are for people to pay a little more attention to sound. We've worked over time a lot on our image quality. People are getting bigger cameras, better lenses, you know, better lighting equipment and all of that. And we see how that is looking. Let's try the same for sound. Let's see how we can get better mics. Let's see, you know, I always tell people like Nigerian movies are unnecessarily loud. That's because we don't use great mics on set. And it affects performance.
Yeah.
Because a sound guy is not supposed to be telling the actor, project, we can't hear you. You don't even have the right to talk to him. It's the director that can say, what if he wants to whisper? What if that's that performance? So it's not because of sound that he's going to change the direction that he has been given.
Yeah.
But you watch Hollywood movies and you hear them, I'm going to get you. You hear it perfectly. You don't need to increase the hair. Or when they're shouting, it's not too loud, it's not clipping. You don't have to reduce it. But in Nigerian films, you know, all of these things, better equipment, education on how to use these things properly and how to get, you know, sound is very vast. Even just capturing dialogue on sets, there are techniques to it, a lot of techniques to it. But it's how to know how to do it properly and how to mitigate the mistakes that we see that pull people out of the experience and stuff like that. So, but I feel like we're, you know, Nollywood is really working hard. People are trying to be better. Everybody's pushing the barriers. There's a lot of great names out there, the directors and producers that are doing amazing things. But I'm just like, okay, well, please start looking at sound. Also start looking at investing in better sound. And it is something that would obviously definitely elevate the quality of the films, the output of, you know. So I would say, I would say for me, those are like the challenges.
So how do you think we can make them see like the difference between, you know, this with sound quality and one without? Can we like show them like, guys, this is that, like compare, see the difference?
I mean, like,
invest.
Yeah, I mean, like, we hear. That's the thing, but it's because the standard for Nigerian movies is kind of low. The audience has been accustomed to accept that standard. So, I think they hear them when they talk. That's fine. Do you understand? But if you're like, their texture, the voice is thin. It's sounding, it's over processed because we've tried to clean out the gen noise in the background. It's not. No worry. You get, or like, okay, music wise, what is the which Nigerian film score do you know that speaks to you? You do get like, you're like, oh, what's this sound that, if I hear it, I'm just like, this is from this film. But it's because, people are not being given the resource to put in the effort to create that sonic identity for the film, or or even down to even in the storytelling, down to even in the shooting. There's only so much that a sound designer can do if we don't have the shots that can help to do that. Do you get? So it's but I think we will get there eventually. When we look at everything, we say, okay, we've done this, we've done it, let's invest in sound. Hopefully God will put it.
I hope at that time you're still here, you're still in Nigeria, and you've not Japan.
I'm still here.
Okay.
I think I love what I'm a part of, and I feel like to be honest, this there's a lot to offer here in terms of what we're doing. These are our stories. And if we don't tell them, Americans have finished telling all their stories. Now they're telling other people's stories.
Yeah.
They're doing Asian shows. They do Shogun and stuff like that. They're doing African shows. They're doing Woman King. They're doing, so if we don't rush and tell our own stories,
somebody will do it for you.
They will come and they will do it for you. And they will do it because they have the resources and they do it in a better way. All you do is what you shout. But yeah, they will do the ones that will go global. So we are the ones here that we have to take up that ownership and be like, yeah, this is our story. Imagine like the Americans came and did Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti for you. Yeah, use Viola Davis, stuff like that. So that will win Oscar. They'll be like, oh, powerful Nigerian woman. But like, you're like, yo, that's our story.
Yeah.
So this was for me, I feel like there's still a lot that the industry has to offer. I feel like I still want to be part of it.
So what are you looking forward to in the future?
To
Danny Beats.
to doing, bigger projects, more stuff, and to pushing the boundaries that we feel that we have here in Nollywood, to being more excellent, to being more to show, and I think also to get people interested in this thing. A lot of people don't know that this is how sound in film works.
Yeah.
And, I feel like a lot of people would love to be in this space if they get to see that, oh, these are the things that it entails. I can also help tell the story in my own way and stuff like that. So, yeah, basically to push in the doctrine of sound design.
Yeah.
But like, being part of bigger projects and helping out with, general excellence. Because, when you're doing a film, everybody is doing their own part excellently. You also want to do your own part.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the reason why the project is dragged behind. Down to every little person. You can have an amazing image, but if the makeup is off, you're like, that's makeup.
Yeah.
Or if in one shot the person had a pen here and in the next shot there's no pen there, like continuity, why? It's just a pen. So everybody is doing their own job at an excellent level, and you two, you're like, okay, I don't want to mess things up. I want to be able to do it at a high level. So always pushing the boundaries, always and encouraging by doing things better in your own space. Then you encourage people to want to invest more in that space. To be like, oh, so it can be done in this way.
Yeah.
So we can look more into this and we can invest more. We can make things better for these people. So yeah.
Fantastic. That's the end of the conversation. Yes, thank you so much. So that's it, Daniel. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Maybe we could have like a second part discussion because I feel like we have so much to talk about.
That'll be fine.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Great job.
And that's it, guys. We had so much fun talking to Daniel, and I can't wait for you guys to experience this revolution with me of sound in Nigeria. Yeah. Bye.